He got your back.
Thanks for mansplaining that to me.
Number two, Dashin.
So that'd be Tyler, the Creator, for me. His most recent album did something no albums do, and that is hurt my feelings. It is the absolute best version of what I said about Black earlier, in the sense that he says point blank honest things on an emotional level. This entire album, Igor, that he just released, is doing phenomenally well for a fantastic reason. It is one of the most poignant stories I've ever heard in audio format. It has one of the best closing tracks ever, called Are We Still Friends? And the way he says, like, really obvious things is in statements that are within statements. Because he'll repeat Are We Still Friends multiple times, and since it's a really jazzy track, and the instrumental palette on this thing is so varied, you sit there and say, okay, you have to be a special kind of creative person
Right.
to make this work, and he does. So he says, are we still friends multiple times, and then he says, I've got to. There's a pause, and then he sings no. And it's a statement within a statement.
Right.
And it's just brilliant. He does that multiple times. The song Earthquake, E-E-A-R-F Quake, it's just a song begging someone not to leave. And the melodies are wonderful, the cadences are wonderful, so you don't care about the fact that these lyrics aren't anything but desperate statements about something that isn't really artistic, but the format they're carried in is beautiful. And I care about projects as a whole, like this Igor thing. And there's only one artist that does it better than Tyler, the Creator, does on this album, and that's my number one next. So
okay. Lead in. So my number two is Jared Sanders. Now this is more recently, probably in the past year and a half, I've become a fan of Jared Sanders, and a reason why I am excited to hear his new album. But he can rap in all different shape, size, forms, flows, cadence. Like he can do anything from a fast rap. There's a song that he's got called "Long Way to Go" on his album "Hurry Up and Wait," and like it's like the first part of it, he's just kind of flowing, kind of melodic. Then the last part, the last verse, he just like he just picks it up in double time, and he's brilliant in what he does, and some of the metaphors he uses, like he was talking about. There was a line he said when he says, "When your whole," talking about Moses, "when your whole staff turns into snakes." I was like, dang, like he does that, and probably not as much as M likes to do, but he's got the gift to do it. He can do that, and so, and again, his features are great. I believe he's probably he's one of the few people, like I said, that could probably rap on any beat. Like I've heard some artists who just don't like certain types of beats, and they just stay away from them because they don't perform well on them, and I respect that. Like, do what you can do, know your limits. I don't think he has any when it comes to rap. So anyway, and honestly, I'd probably say the same about John Gibbs, because I've heard him on some totally different types of tracks rapping. But yeah, man, Jared Sanders, man, he's a beast.
All right, I guess that's number two to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Noel.
Woo! He's
good.
Yeah, it's good.
I prefer when he's just rapping, and especially when he's just freestyling.
Acapella.
Yeah. It's just he can totally kill it. So, again, I don't listen to a whole lot of hip hop anyway in general. But I think I'm going to kick that horse every time that we come back around to me. I don't listen to.
That's a justifiable number two, though.
So, but I appreciate that. So yeah, Chris, and he's a wonderful person. I like him. I mean, there's a lot of artists out there that maybe perform well and can put out some nice stuff, but they're just real jerks. And Chris is just a very real person, and
extremely humble.
Yeah.
He is so humble. It's funny because when he went down to Track Stars and met the people down there for the first time, the DJ's wife, they met Chris. And the way he explodes on the track, like Flame On, like he just like straight just obliterates it, and he sounds like a monster. And when you meet him in person, you're like, is this the same? And he looks like a monster. Cause
Oh yeah, he's buff. Yeah.
But when you talk to him, he's like super nice and genuine, and just it's like, are you sure this is the same? Like, do you transform in the booth? Like, do you really do that Superman thing?
He seems really, really personable.
He is, and it's amazing. And I think more rappers need to have that. I really do. So yeah, man. So number one.
Like I said, big fan of projects, and the person that puts together the best project, not out of rap, but out of any genre ever, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
To Pimp a Butterfly, it's probably the best album of all time. It's up there. Good Kid, Mad City, fantastic. The stories in between tracks, the way he transitions them. There's nobody that does that better. He's weird, he's out there, he makes choruses that don't seem like real choruses. Like, how can this be the heart of the song? Until you get to the end of it, and it's so obvious that that's the heart of the song. That's the thing that needs to be repeated. And he does that over and over again. Even songs I don't like have these redeeming qualities between them, and I'll listen to the whole song just to get to that so I can have that part of the story. I never listen to one song of his. I always just start an album and hit play.
Right,
and I don't do that with anybody else. You know, most people just pick the song they want or have a playlist. Never. Kendrick's not on any of my playlists. I just start an album and go all the way through every time.
And that's classy because, I think that traditionally, at least for me, growing up in a classic rock household, that's the way albums were.
Right.
You listened to the entire album from start to finish. You didn't go through and find just one or two tracks on your LP.
Yeah.
It was a complete piece of work.
And I think, I don't necessarily know if people do that. I think a lot of people I know who've set up their albums just have a selection of songs that they deem passable for the album and then pick an order. This guy intends his music to be listened to in a specific way, and I accommodate that because I benefit from it.
Sure.
Now, I don't know if it's true. People said it is true. Do you think, and forgive for the naughty word here, the album Damn, was it a different story in reverse than Ford? Did you hear there was a thing that he did?
No, not necessarily. That's an angrier album. There are some things in there that, it's kind of uncharacteristically angry of him, but I can appreciate where he's coming from.
Gotcha.
I don't think it was nearly as good. Like, if I gave Pimp a Butterfly 10 and Good Kid, Mad City a 9, Dan gets like a 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's significantly downgraded due to the angry kind of demeanor he has, and it seems like he's not thinking very clearly. There are some excerpts from voicemails that he puts on his albums, and some of them are acted out and some of them are real. And there's one in particular that I think is real that I can't really quote verbatim, but it makes you worry about his mental health in a lot of ways, especially during the time that he was, making the album. And hopefully, like, whatever comes out next is more clear-headed and less hyper-focused on the things that worry him, his doubts. Because I guess this is funny enough, he's probably the only Christian rapper on my list, because almost every album has references to faith and its importance to him.
Y'all hear that? Psalmist Porch Podcast, Dash and Grizzly just called Kendrick Lamar a Christian rapper. I haven't heard that on anybody else's list.
Must be true.
So
it's on every album, and almost
yeah, it is.
2/3 of the songs have some kind of reference to faith. So.
Yeah, and him and Chance, like, apparently they talk back and forth a whole lot. Now, I know people have questioned some of his thoughts because he considers himself, I guess now, his Hebrew Israelite, and so what that means in the Christian faith. So people debate that. But the way him and Chance, they share the text back and forth. I mean, I would say that he's definitely a believer. So
maybe that's the correct way. A rapper that believes.
There you go.
So you're saying that Chance actually does music other than Doritos commercials?
Ooh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
All right.
He does.
I don't know.
Speaking of angry rappers, my number one's Eminem. Of course it is. I'm a white guy. Who else could it be?
He's not even on my list,
Well, Cole wasn't either, so no.
Oh, well, okay. Make a point.
So, Eminem sure changed my life. Criminal on the first Marshall Mathers LP is what got me into rap.
Wow.
Criminal did. So that album, then the Slim Shady, those two albums like were my introduction into, aside from Regulators. Regulators was that was technically my first rap song that I really liked, and okay, probably Gangsta's Paradise. Except Gangsta's Paradise. Those are the two songs that got me into it. But then after that, I'd say it was Eminem, and Eminem Show. Man, that album it was a complete and perfect album, and and I was okay with the encore a little bit, but just hearing what he did on his features at that time, and like everybody was comparing everybody to Eminem. If you're white, like nobody else gets compared to as much as Eminem does.
Right.
Like just period.
See, but I have to question that being on your list in terms of, are you doing just like your favorite because these are who you listen to, or just that I think that these are the people that really should be like top? Because I mean, I have emotional connection to more of Run DMC and Beastie Boys because that's what I grew up with. But they're definitely not going to make my list because.
Okay, so for me, aside from my Christian faith, if I were going to like take a song and introduce somebody to rap for the first time, these are the artists I would give them and say these are the ones that I prefer.
Right.
Okay.
Like, that's what it is.
Okay.
And I think if we did this once a year and had the I guess the list would be called best 5 rappers of all time.
Right.
What it means is now time, because I'm not the same I'm going to be in 2020 or
Sure.
2021.
Sure.
And who I am changes this question a lot.
Yeah.
And these are just who I'm listening to now, obsessively, and that's going to change. And my all-time greats are going to change as I change.
Right.
So,
Okay.
totally follow.
Well, thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Because I would say, if you were to say, Sean, if you're just gonna put some hip hop on right now, what are you gonna listen to? I'd probably listen to a few of these guys, but then I would probably definitely have some Beastie Boys in there,
Right.
just because that's
Gotcha.
throwback kind of thing. So
Yeah, it's a difference in like what's nostalgia to you and what things like that. To me, this is like I would see if you had to hand somebody a hip hop CD, it'd be Rare or Chris. Oh, actually, we didn't get to your number one.
yeah, my number one. Yeah, Rare.
I'm usually last, so that's
Yeah, Rare Breed is my number one. Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'll say this, that out of any of the artists that I've listed, I think that Rare has the most genuine heart in his music. I'm not saying that the other guys don't, but I think it comes through more clearly in Rare's music. And maybe it's just that I relate more to him than the other folks. Plus, he did this really awesome intro track for a podcast.
He did the intro for our show.
Oh, well, that was
That's
a good
Rare
one.
Breed.
Yeah. So, but and again, another super awesome, genuine person. This is a guy that I think I appreciate his music more because I know him personally. Mm-hmm. And he goes out and he does ministry work, unpaid kind of work that he just gets involved in his community. He goes out and plays basketball with guys, not to just be playing basketball, but to be able to be there as an after-school program kind of a thing. And then he gets to share his music.
When he told me he wanted to open his studio to let young broke kids come and do music. Like that's pretty incredible.
Right? Yeah.
That's the heart of somebody who he loves music as an artist, that he can mentor these young guys and teach them, this, that, and the other. And it's not about money, like he's not charging anything for it.
Right.
So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And Rare Breed, he's a special kind of guy. And like songs like Fire.
Yeah.
Like songs like that, when he felt like he was going through something, he puts that. And I'm not saying because Chris does it too, and Monty, his whole stuff that he's doing now is called Sad But Happy.
Right.
So it's the emotional stuff.
Great name.
So
That's a great name.
And Monty's doing it too, but Rare, and the other thing too is I think Rare's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
So he knows his style, his everything. So
well, and that's what I was gonna say is that Rare has a very specific style too.
He's comfortable.
Yeah, and he's in his groove, and he does it well. And I think So when I'm in the mood for Rare, I put on Rare.